Thank you. Mr. Beliles.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say I'm amazed at the turnout of this meeting tonight, both in person and online. They've apparently had to create an overflow room in the second floor conference room so people could watch, and the RVA Council hashtag has been informative and hilarious. I encourage everybody to check it out. But I think the increased civic engagement is another sign of how Richmond has changed and is getting better each and every day. From the beginning to this whole process, I've remained unbiased and open-minded, and that hasn't changed. As much as sometimes I get dismayed by this process and how everything is rolled out, and how sometimes people on both sides may have mischaracterized the other, I think it has been a good night, and I have not engaged in any of this kind of mischaracterization, and I won't. I realize this is an important and passionate issue, and the great thing is there were a lot of new faces that we hadn't heard at other community meetings or in this chamber tonight that came out and spoke for the first time. Addressing the slave heritage site, I think it's one that needs to happen, and it can happen, in my opinion, with or without a ballpark. But I agree with Delegate McQuinn, and that the time is now to start working on it. The thing that troubles me a little bit is that part of the plan is, at least from our knowledge, the least developed so far. So it's something that we need to get working on and do it in a hurry. And that whole history is so important. I came to work here in the city in 2008, and until then, other than Henry Box Brown, I never knew what happened down there. And it's not, to me, it's not only tragic, it's embarrassing. It's a story that should be told and must be told, in my opinion. But beyond the slave heritage site, Richmond's been moving forward and will continue to do so regardless of this project. We've achieved more top 10 lists in the last couple years than David Letterman does in a season. And Chaco is not, sometimes it's characterized as a wasteland, which I don't think is true. It's the fastest growing census tract in the city and has been for the last 10 years. I talked with the city assessor, and Chaco Bottom's total assessed value in 1998 was $218 million. Today it's $886 million. It's a 400% increase. And since we know that the boulevard numbers, as provided in the Davenport report, are speculative and not market tested, it's absolutely essential that the Chaco part of this resolution or this overall project is absolutely locked down. It cannot come up short. And I offered my amendment tonight to better protect the city if the negotiations continue. I think the amendment puts us in a better starting position, so if a deal does go forward and is negotiated and brought back to this chamber, the city is going to be better protected. Removing the moral obligation is something that is very critical, because the last time the city morally obligated bonds with the Community Development Authority, within 6 or 7 years, the city had to pass a resolution bailing it out, and it cost $67 million. Without the amendments tonight, I think the city would have been negotiating from a point of weakness. And anybody that's lived here all their life like I have, or even just a long time, knows that the city's got a history of bad deals behind us, and some of the time we've gotten very badly burned. No business that wants to stay in business, and no business leader who wants to remain leading the way would openly walk into negotiations with their arms tied behind their back. And I appreciate the council adopting the amendment tonight. Earlier tonight, one of the papers that we passed on the consent agenda allows Mr. Marshall to execute an already negotiated agreement with a telecommunications company. This resolution that we're discussing does not allow the CAO to go ahead and execute an agreement about a ballpark. I've been unswayed in either direction throughout this entire time and keep my options open And I'll do that because approval tonight does not mean the stadium is going to get built. The city attorney and I have talked several times over the last couple days, and he's assured me that nothing can move forward without coming back to this chamber. So there are no back doors. And we've been told, while we've been told that every project has risks, sometimes we've been told that this project is so good there's no risk to the city, and that it's a strange dichotomy that kind of makes me a little nervous. But if the negotiations go forward and the development talks fall apart, then the changes we made protected the city. The talks go forward and an agreement is reached, then it comes back into this room and we have another marathon session like we have tonight, hopefully a little shorter. If another plan comes along, we can consider that as well. But until that happens, this is not a done deal. It doesn't mean that I will support this project if it comes back to this chamber. It just means I'll have more information than I do today. But we all will, the public and this council. But what I will do, as I mentioned, is remain fair and open-minded and try to put the city's best interest ahead of the administration's, developers, or even my career on this council. I've never wanted to live anywhere else, and I would never want to live here for the rest of my life knowing that a decision that I made without all the information was a disastrous one for the city. And I will remain vigilant and look out for Richmond first. And therefore, I'm going to support this resolution tonight, but I will be unequivocally clear that tonight's decision does not equate to my ultimate support of the overall proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Blouses.